And this was a very interesting topic for me. Last week I had in the last week's call I had mentioned purpose, and I said generally it has an action verb or verbs to it, and there's audience or multiple audiences. And we did a very short conversation, and when people do the MOW, the second question is what's your purpose? And by far, um, it's not hard if you've ever done the MOW for me, like trying to come up with all your beliefs. That may be hard, or trying to figure out your primary questions hard, etc. But I would bet anecdotally 85% of my clients absolutely do not know their purpose. What they do is they work hard, they're good people, they show up, they're good parents, they pay their bills, they're growing their lives. But when you say, what's your purpose? They're like, I don't know, or that's a great question. Or the most common thing I get is people give me their values. Now, values are very important, and that is also a part of the MOW, but values really drive the, I'm going to call it almost environments that you ascribe to. And there's both towards values that you want and away values that you don't want. So you don't want bitter or sad or angry or depressed or frustrated. You do want love or happiness or freedom, and then people will roll generally into some form of a role responsibility. It's parenting, it's being a good sibling, it's or they'll roll into other arenas. They might be very stage one, which is uh, are you internal or external? And they're here. I'm here to learn, and I'm here to laugh, and I'm here to enjoy my journey. Those I'm going to tell you, and again, this is a point of going deep tonight. You'll see what deep looks like. Learning, laughing, loving, growing. Those are values that you want. They're not purpose. Purpose in NLP, purpose in my client work. I've been doing this a long time. The most powerful purposes people can attach an action verb. Now, for those of you, and again, it's always a test, just so you know, I'm going to ask you to request it. If you want this purpose summary, this is actually a document that's in client-based work. So I'm going to cover it pretty quick. Key distinctions around purposes, action, verb, we've already talked about. Now, there is a difference. If for some reason you're here as a feminine purpose, which is not all that common, by the way, but I do see it, experience it, work with it, teach it. That's more of a state of being and emotional conditions to it versus a state of doing, which leads to the actions. Now, this is a distinction. We can go there in the Q&A if you want. But, again, what I teach to get people started, action verbs, there's not characteristics and attributes that, we already talked with, we called that values. Our purpose is not about us. It's about why we're here. Typically it'll have value to others or to the universal system, whether it's God, a faith, a creator, a metaphysical. There's something deeper in this arena that we connect to. And when you arrive at the action verb, do what for whom. So again, we did that in our intro. Now, the way I liked to help people understand it is as much as to why don't they, or what's the struggle with this. Because if you ask a 4-year-old, again, they're going to have this energized raison d'etre, but they might not always connect that to a purpose. But the challenge is, as we get older, now to connect to a purpose, point one is purpose is just too large. It has implications that are greater than the person perceives. So I'm going to create world peace, or I'm going to solve cancer, and there's some scary part of me that believes that. Well, that's just too big for me to declare. So I'm going to pretend Yeah, I can't say that. I don't know what it is. Now, there's a close cousin, but it is different. There is a distinction. So you really, really want to pay attention to this. They, on the other hand, are too small. What that means is it might still be a noble purpose. It doesn't rise to peace or world cancer or something at a macro level, but it's still very noble. And even if it's at a mundane level, they don't perceive they are worthy of such a purpose. It's not that the purpose is too big, it's that they are too small. So then they go, oh, I don't know. That's a great question. Or they don't talk about it, think about it, ask about it. Now, the actual biggest reason and the thing I encounter the most, people believe that if they embrace their purpose and declare it, their life has to change too much, and they're not ready for that. I'll have to. I'm married. I've got kids. I got a mortgage. I just can't say I'm here to do this because now I have to go to medical school or I have to go. I've already started down my path. I can't. I don't want to. I won't. I refuse to do some go back. And again, when you understand the inevitable you and the TIY systems, and you understand the power of NLP, you never have to go back. You just go forward differently. But you have to state this as a purpose. So to really dial this in and help it feels great, you're going to want to do this when you get your sentence. And again, I highly encourage it to be a sentence. And then once you have the sentence, then you can turn it into the I have a dream speech. But you got to know the pillar or the pillars that this is built on. I, William Sumner, I state your name. I, William Sumner, see, hear, feel, and know with great certainty that the purpose of my life is. Now, as I've shared with you, I've collected these in my client work. So these are live clients. This is what their one sentence came down to be. And again, you can read these. You can look at them. You can think about what would yours be. To help grow and heal. That's me. That was my very first one. It's since been iterated, and it's not far off of that. But most of these were collected beginning in 2003, 2004. And because it's a great document, I haven't continued to add to it. But these are real clients. Provide safe harbor was an abused woman. And she knew that she attracted and created her abuse so that she could provide safe harbor to teach patriotism. This was a woman who came here as an immigrant. When she knew that of all the people, she was a patriot. Yeah, I mean, it just, people, when they understand their sentences, they just absolutely explode on every level with power, with passion. This purpose becomes ignited. Now, I would tell you it was deep work. There are still some that I don't think didn't go all the way, or they had some more refinements to do. They didn't agree with me. No worries. This is your life, the inevitable you, which is fine. So this is kind of the standard 5, plus minute introduction to purpose that I give.